I know the story of that flush, 5 iron shot you had out of the fairway there the day after Thanksgiving in 2018. It feels like it's my golf story. But what was kind of your thoughts and perception of golf before that? Before you had that amazing experience that really turned everything around for you.
I grew up in the Tiger era, the glory days, and there was a brief period of, the local track here, the par three. I think the longest hole is 120 yards, maybe 110. And that was really my experience, hitting off really crusty mats and being really bad. And not much has changed since the being really bad part, but it was, you know, a game that I never really felt. It was a game that I didn't feel exactly connected to just because of, the time, energy, expense, and lack of skill set that I possessed at the time. And yeah, all it took was that shot to kind of shift everything, to get that dopamine hit of like, oh my God, what was that? I wanted again for the rest of my life. And you know, that's kind of what led me to it.
I love it. I was gonna say, what does it say about the sport in the game that all it takes is one, right? Like it could be anything else. Like it's not, oh, I sank a 3-pointer. Like I can't wait to play basketball again. It's like I had one flush shot. It was probably the best feeling ever, and now it's like you can't get enough of it.
Yeah, it's interesting because anyone can like throw a basketball up and hit a 3-pointer. You're right. Anyone can like eventually hit a baseball if they keep swinging at it. But there's something about the physical connection to the golf ball and the club face and the flight of the ball and the destination that is different. And I think that it's alchemy in its purest state. It's this magical force that when done right, it sends an entire frequency through your body that's just different than any other sport that I've played.
Yeah, I love it. So, again, we talk about you had that round in Hawaii after Thanksgiving a couple years ago. Now you're addicted. You're going out, you're playing more, and then talk about how Bogey Boys started. Was it just kind of, you're in the clubhouse and wearing kind of these clothes as I sit here wearing like a pretty plain quarter zip that you were like, hey, we gotta kind of change what people are wearing on the golf course.
Yeah, I got a lot of pretty plain quarter zips myself. I think that what happened was I hit that shot. I got home. I was like, okay, I need golf clubs. I went to a sporting goods store, one of the major chains. And, of course, with golf clubs, I'm like, well, now I need to buy a fit or a couple fits. And what I saw was the same khakis, the same polos, the same quarter zips. Everything looked the same. And the colors were the same. The sport sweat wickening materials were very similar. And I didn't feel like even with, you know, all the resources that I could really put together an outfit that spoke to myself. And one thing creatively that I've always loved is design, whether that's designing merch, whether that's flyers, whether that's a photo shoot, whether that's music videos or whatever it is. I've loved the visual component of what my job has entailed the last, really 25 years. Um, and so there was this moment of like, and I got kind of tired of designing Macklemore clothes. Like I wanted to, I knew that I'd wanted to get into fashion for a long time, but designing merch just wasn't as fulfilling as it once was. And it was also clothes that, I'm not going to wear a big, shirt that says Macklemore on it from, myself. And I wanted to do something that I wanted to be inspired by to wear. And that was kind of the origin story of, well, what if we made a brand that spoke to us, that spoke to the golfer that's a little bit different and outside of the box, that's a little left field, just as important as the score that they shoot, or maybe right behind it, but something that like we can put together and feel good on the golf course. And we started Bogey Boys.
That's awesome. How important is that too? That again, like you said, it's like, with golf, it's the clubs you have, the bag, the clothes, like so much of that can go a long way in terms of your confidence. So how important is that to help people kind of realize like, hey, I can have a personality when I'm on the golf course that and my clothes kind of reflect that.
I think that if you look back throughout time, and I think that's one of the reasons why I'm inspired by the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s in terms of golf fashion. It's that people look like golfers, but they look like themselves. You couldn't find the same two polos on a golf course, you know, at the same time or on the PGA Tour. It was like Chichi Rodriguez looked completely different than Lee Trevino, looked completely different than Arnold Palmer, looked completely different than Jack. Everyone had their own personality, charisma, and creativity when putting together these fits. And now, if you look at what's happening in golf on, the PGA level, it's very similar. Um, Along, the things that separate them are really just their sponsors that are plastered all over their polos like it's a billboard. And I think that something is lost in that. I think that we gravitate um, towards fabric, to colors, to personality, um, based on what people choose to wake up and put on in the morning. And I think that it's a great representation of what our spirit is actually saying that we are and how we want to project ourselves in the world. And I don't even remember the question, but yeah, that's what I got out of it.
No, that works. No, it was just about how, like we were talking about that golf can be this kind of boring, this replicated kind of look for a lot of people and how you guys are kind of helping others like express their personality and style through their style.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's a great entry point into the game of golf for someone that is just starting as well. Um, because it's so fun to be like, you know what? I just got into this. I went to the driving range. I went to, 5 iron. I went to Top Golf and I hit a couple balls and I hit one good one and I want to do that again. And now I want to put together an outfit. And it's like it can be kind of a catalyst into the game as well and into someone's unique personality. And I love going to the golf course and seeing people dress differently. I hate going to the driving range and seeing everyone in a shade of white navy or or white, what do we got, white navy in a pair of khakis. It's like there's so much more originality to be explored in places that we can take the game. And I think that fashion is a beautiful entry point for a lot of people.
Definitely. And I think with golf's popularity as well, and this will, dovetail into my next question, golf's more popular than ever. And I think that there's more crossover into lifestyle and fashion because of that. And I think what you guys are doing and other brands as well is really changing the landscape of it. So I was going to say, knowing that and a lot of other brands out there too that are making golf cooler, outside of the polos and the khakis, how do you guys really, try to stand out in that regard?
I think that it is exciting to see, different up and coming kind of boutique brands with their own lens on this golf landscape. I think I've never tried to stick out. I try to, whether it's anything creatively, I think that when you try to stick out, that comes across that the consumer is actually smarter than we give them credit for. And this isn't about trying, it's about um, creating a brand that has a story, that has a voice, that has clothing that reflects that. And at the end of the day, I am excited. Like when I get a sample back from what we're working on, like opening that box is like Christmas every time. And to pull it out and to put it on and be like, I can't wait to wear this. That's the joy of it. The joy is in the design process. The joy is going back to the archives and seeing what people have done before and how we can make that better in 2023.
Mhm. You talk about that joy and that creative process, talk about the collection you guys have coming out with Adidas, that it isn't just, hey, we're going to slap their logo on some of our stuff, or we're going to slap our logo on some of their stuff, that this is, all brand new stuff that you are, in charge of creative on.
I mean, that's it right there. You said it. I think that so many collaborations turn into just, um, let's put our logo here, their logo here on a pre-existing polo. Maybe we make it a slightly different color, and there's no real energy or storytelling involved. And with our collaboration with Adidas, which is a dream come true for us and for Bogey Boys to be as young as we are, to be able to work with a legacy brand like Adidas. It's it was really something that I wanted to go back and look at what Adidas was, 40 years ago, what they were 30 years ago, what stories they were telling then, and how we can weave that into today to to create a collaboration that has a true essence of the game, and to kind of meet in the middle potentially, like where Adidas is and where Bogey Boys is, and to unify that in a sense of style and fashion.
You mentioned working with, a legacy brand like Adidas, kind of like dream come true. Boogie's Boys has been around for what, 2 years now? Not even three. Like,
Yeah,
what's this journey been like for you, knowing that it's just like been like a skyrocket, rocket ship?
it's amazing. I think that I grew up with my dad wearing Adidas, and seeing those three stripes in the closet, and that's that was like the foundation of my sneaker introduction. Those were the first sneakers. I remember he would have a pair that was beat up, and that he would mow the grass in, and do lawn work in, and he'd keep a pair on ice. He always had two pairs. And um, one of the really cool parts of this collaboration is that we got to use the trefoil. What? How do you say it? Trefoil. Yeah, my
Well, yeah.
trefoil logo. My caffeine hasn't quite kicked in yet. Um, the trefoil logo, and that's something that I really wanted to have with our logo lockup, because that was my origin story of what sneakers meant, um and what Adidas meant, and the Adidas tracksuit, and the iconic tracksuit that Run DMC used to wear. That's hip hop to me, like, and to kind of be able to blend these worlds and to go back to that logo with our logo. We had to get clearance from Germany. It was something that I brought up, and it was met with, I don't know if we can do that one. We'll ask. And the answer was yes. And to be able to see that um, on this collaboration is really special to me.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you talk about that. That's iconic and classic look, right? I'm the same way. I see that and I'm just like, it just has such a cooler look, to not like downplay it, but like I just look at that and I'm just like, this is cool. I want everything that has that, that trefoil look on it, just because it's just one of those timeless, iconic kind of marks, no matter what they throw it on. So that's awesome. You guys
Exactly.
do that.
And that's
Yeah.
what we're searching. Sorry to cut you out, but that's what we're searching for: is timeless, is iconic, is something that's not of this season, or of this month, or what's the flavor right now in terms of streetwear culture, but actually something that is going to withstand the test of time. It's the same way that I approach music. um, and I think that there's an audience for it, and that's one of the beautiful things, that when we launched Bogey Boys, I had no idea who was going to be our consumer, who was going to be to kind of resonate with the stories that we were telling. And I was pleasantly surprised that there's more people out there than I could have ever imagined. And I think that this collaboration is also speaks to that it's about the golfer that wants some classic, traditional, yet forward moving fashion pieces that stick out from what you can buy anywhere else.
Yeah, exactly. And just talking to me, you're already like, great, got another customer, got somebody else who's, obviously, feeling the clothes and that kind of stuff like that. So, just a testament to what you guys are doing.
Hey, Michael,
You
last
know,
question, because we did last question, if you don't mind.
oh yeah, okay, sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're finishing up your the first leg of your European tour. back in the States. But what were you able to play a bunch of golf on tour? What are some kind of like bucket list golf courses that maybe you were able to check off your list and or are on your list, this year, next year?
You know what I loved about being in Europe? I played a lot of golf. And we were out there for almost 6 weeks. I played probably 5 times a week. And which I hadn't really had the opportunity to do just with finishing the album and 3 kids and being at home and I was playing in COVID, but once I got into album mode, it kind of had to stop. So to get out there and to have no idea what I was doing again, which can happen any given day or any given hole or a front nine or a back nine, and to really seek that spiritual reprieve that golf gives me, to be able to look at my alignment, to how much I am, I'd bring my little golf selfie stick, I'd put it behind me. I got my Top Tracer app. I'm watching the ball flight. I'm watching the swing plane, and it's this process of searching for that connection, that same 5 iron shot that I had in the sand. Here we are 4.5 years later, and into my obsession into this game, and I fell back in love. And I'm reminded of all these life parallels. Even talking to you about all of this, it's like it's a game of surrender. It's a game of loving the beauty and the ugly, and being in pursuit of the beauty, but acceptance of where the ball lands, and the reflection, the parallels into life are abundant right in front of me all the time. And in in Europe, it wasn't about the course that I was playing at. It wasn't about, you know, how expensive the round was, or even really who I was with. It's a game that you play against yourself, against your mind, and really one that leads back to the present moment of the next shot and acceptance of wherever it goes.
I love it. I love it. And it's something you can never master, right? You can play your whole life and think like, oh, I got it. And then it's just like the next shot, you're like, I lost it again.
Yep. And that's it, man. That's the game.
Awesome. Very cool. Well, I appreciate you taking the time.